Mississippi is now begging for answers after their 21-year-old was found dead hanging from a tree at Delta State University. Campus police say the body of 21-year-old Trey Reed, a black student, was discovered by staff members on Monday morning. Authorities quickly ruling out foul play, and during a press conference today, the university president insisting that race relations are not an issue at the university.
Tonight, heartbreak and unanswered questions surround the death of 21-year-old Trey Reed, a first-year student at Delta State University.
Delta University is in the city of Cleveland, Mississippi. Now, I did some research on Cleveland, Mississippi. Cleveland, Mississippi has been through a lot of segregation, and even recently. Going on, this is Fugitive TV, and I'm your host, Ray Marcel, aka DJ Case Blaze, where we take a look at cases from my perspective, because once I was a fugitive on the run from the law, and it was for about 15 years, living in different countries and different names, so I can give you a perspective that some people can't. But today we're going to talk about Trey Reed.
I can say that my heartbreak is comprehensive, not just for Trey, although it is primarily for Trey, but for the fact that the rest of the world has an impression of Delta State that is so at odds with what I know to be this institution. This institution should not be associated with hate or hate crimes.
Rest in peace to Trey Reed. My condolences go out to his family. If you don't know about this, I'm going to give you a quick rundown. Trey Reed was found hanging from a tree at his college in Mississippi, Delta University. Okay. He was found hanging from the tree by the pickleball courts early in the morning. It was around 7 to 7:30 in the morning, and was found by another staff, or I should say a staff of the school. Now, I've never really hung out in Mississippi. I grew up on the West Coast. I grew up in California, and I remember family telling me, you know, as a man of color, you would say, I remember my family telling me, you know, if you ever go to the South, Mississippi's the last state you probably want to go to. It was Mississippi, Arkansas, and Alabama. They were telling me kind of stay away from those three states. You're not used to it. Growing up in the West Coast, you never seen segregation like that. So anything you can do, stay away from those places. And they were telling me definitely Mississippi. The family thinks that Trey Young didn't do this himself.
Press conference in Grenada, Reed's family stood alongside their legal team calling for accountability from Delta State University and the Bolivar County Coroner's Office. They say they learned of Reed's death through media reports and have yet to receive direct communication from university leadership. The family is now pursuing an independent autopsy and investigation.
A simple phone call from the president of the university with some personalization that this young man that we entrusted to Delta State University, that you care.
There's reports from officials, as in the police, the autopsy, they're all saying he did it himself because there is no foul play. As in, there was no broken bones, no scratches, nothing like that.
Congressman Benny Thompson has joined the call for answers, urging the Department of Justice and the FBI to launch a federal investigation. In a statement, Thompson said, "We must leave no stone unturned in the search for answers. While the details of this case are still emerging, we cannot ignore Mississippi's painful history of lynching and racial violence against African Americans." He emphasized that federal resources are essential to ensure a thorough and impartial inquiry. Delta State University President Dr. Daniel Ennis addressed the campus community today, expressing sorrow and reaffirming the university's cooperation with investigators.
Right. Now, the family is saying, yeah, he didn't do this himself. We want to investigate even more. They went and got an attorney and everything because they think he didn't do it himself. Now, my thing is, when they do this autopsy, right, and they say there's no foul play, no scratches, no broken bones, how do they still know it wasn't done himself? Just because there was no signs of a struggle does not mean that, hey, you know, just because no signs of struggle, he did it himself. You know, somebody can reach from behind you, choke you out with the rope, you know, you pass, and then decide to hang your body from the tree.
In a press release we received 5 minutes ago, Crump said the family has received vague answers and there are many questions. He is calling for a transparent investigation. That's something we heard from another family attorney during a news conference that just wrapped up. Reed was found just after 7 a.m. on Monday near the school's pickleball courts. According to an initial report from the Bolivar County Coroner's Office, there were no signs or evidence that Reed was physically attacked, assaulted, or injured.
You know, I'm just thinking, you know, some different ways here. Not only that, if there was signs of a struggle, I think some of the family is thinking that, but they're just not telling us because they're covering it up. And one of the reasons why they could be covering up because Delta University is going through their 100-year anniversary. So they don't want the kids to, they don't want this news to come out if it was signs of a struggle or they think that somebody else did this. They don't want this news to come out during this time for the school. It's a big deal for them, a 100-year celebration and things like that. Now, if they did come out and say, oh, Trey didn't do this himself, it would break loose. People would be going nuts and bananas. We know this. We've seen movies, right? Now, another thing is, I don't know if you know about the story of Emmett Till. Emmett Till, supposedly what happened to him was only 20 minutes down the street. 20 minutes down the street is where Emmett Till was lynched, and we all know that story. Delta University is in the city of Cleveland, Mississippi. Now, I did some research on Cleveland, Mississippi. Cleveland, Mississippi has been through a lot of segregation, and even recently.
It's been nearly 60 years since the landmark Brown v. Board of Education ruling, but one school district in the South has been especially slow to adapt. The school district in Cleveland, Mississippi has 2 high schools and 2 middle schools, but they're mostly segregated. The city is divided by railroad tracks that contribute to the town's segregation. Residents in the area filed a lawsuit back in 1965 to get the district to desegregate, but the case has dragged on for decades.
With schools, I'm talking about 2014, 15, 16, just recently.
Reports on new evidence, schools in the United States are resegregating. Federal data show schools with a high percentage of poor and black or Hispanic students climbed from 9% to 16% between 2000 and 2014. The numbers were released on the anniversary of Brown versus Board of Education.
I don't live there. If anybody lives in Mississippi that's watching this, please comment below. How segregated is the state? Is it really desegregated? Like I said, I've never been there. I can only read and see things.
62 years after that landmark Supreme Court decision, Cleveland, Mississippi faces a new federal court order to integrate. Michelle Miller is in Cleveland with why the school district may appeal. Michelle, good morning.
Good morning. Well, Cleveland school district officials contend they've made big strides since they were ordered to desegregate schools here back in 1969. But a federal judge says it wasn't enough. In fact, the school behind me was built in 1956, and nearly all of the full-time students who walk through its doors have been African American.
But supposedly Cleveland is still very segregated. There's tracks that go along the city, and on one side, which is the east side, is full of black people, and supposed to be on the west side of the tracks is mostly white people.
Cleveland, Mississippi is literally a town divided by old railroad tracks. Most white students live on the west side, while many African American students call the east side home. Deshandra Fields and her brother, Quadidric, attend East Side High School, a well-regarded school where the student body is 100% black. So you think they should not desegregate these schools?
No, ma'am.
Why?
It's this side of the highway versus that side of the highway, and it's been a rival for a long time.
I live here in Florida, and here in Florida, there is segregation in certain parts. I can tell you that. I see it. There's segregation definitely in certain parts, and a lot of it came from the history of redlining. If you don't know what redlining is, please look that up, okay? That's a whole nother video. But I see that here. So I can see maybe some segregation going along with this issue. Now, there was another person found hanging from a tree. This person was found, I believe, 108 miles away from where they found Trey. Now, this guy was a homeless white man. So if you look at both of these issues, you're like, all right, maybe they both did do this to themselves. It couldn't be race, right? One's black, one's white. But what if they didn't? What if one person did it to him and the next person did it to him? Because it happened, I believe, within a couple days of each other. It wasn't that far apart. This incident also reminds me of a few other incidents. One was Javion McGee. Do you remember that story?
Video from the Vance County Sheriff's Office of surveillance video of McGee at a nearby Walmart buying rope the night before his body was discovered. His family says that law enforcement told them that McGee died by suicide, but the sheriff says that his investigators never said that. Also tonight, we are hearing a 911 call from when someone reported discovering McGee's body.
I had some guys out here mowing grass and how they go. Man, hung himself in a tree.
The guy hung himself in the tree?
Yeah.
Now, McGee's family does not believe that McGee died by suicide, and they suspect foul play. The Vance County Sheriff says they are still investigating, and they want to hear from anyone who has information.
Of Javion McGee was a truck driver, and he was in, I believe it was North Carolina, I think it was. And he was out there delivering a load. And later on, they did come out with a Walmart video of him buying rope. Supposedly, he bought this rope, went to a truck stop, and they say he was found also hung from a tree. He used that rope that he purchased, and they say he did it to himself. Supposedly, there's a homeless guy that, I don't know if he's on camera anywhere. I haven't seen him. If you guys seen him, let me know. But supposedly, there's this homeless guy that says Javion gave him all the money in his pocket, which is like $228. Gave him all the money, and then that was the last time guys ever heard of him.
But the pressure on the sheriff prompted him to release new details on the timetable of Javion McGee's death. We know Javion was in Henderson dropping off a load at the Walmart distribution center on September 10th. Just before 5 p.m., his truck was seen idling in the dirt parking lot not far from where his body would later be found. He then goes to Walmart, where surveillance video shows him buying utility rope. On the way out in the parking lot at around 6:22 p.m., he gives something to a homeless person outside. Investigators talked to the man, who said Javion gave him $228 and told him, "I don't know how much it is, but if I had more, I would give it to you." He then goes to a Hampton Inn nearby, but there wasn't a room available. So instead, he heads back to that dirt lot off Vanco Mill Road where he was earlier. At 6:52, seen walking away from his truck to the woods alone with an object in his hand. At 7 p.m., he goes back to the truck without anything in his hand. Then, 30 minutes later, the truck's ignition is turned off and never started again. He's then seen on video walking away from the truck alone. His body would be discovered with the wrapper from the rope lying next to him.
But his family's even saying, hey, something's up. This ain't right. And you know what the funny thing is? Trey Reed supposedly wanted to be a truck driver too. A coincidence? Y'all remember Rasheem Carter? Rasheem Carter was found with his head separated from his body, and he was all messed up. It wasn't pretty. They say that one wasn't pretty.
Rights attorney Ben Crump was in Jackson today, calling for answers in the mysterious death of a young Fayette man whose remains were found a month after he went missing. 12 News' Leah Williams heard from attorneys who are calling on the U.S. Department of Justice to step in. Leah?
Melanie, the state medical examiner's office was not able to determine a cause of death for 25-year-old Rasheem Carter. His family believes there was foul play, so their attorney sent a letter to the Department of Justice asking them to get involved. 25-year-old Rasheem Carter of Fayette was contracted to work in Smith County last year. Carter went missing in October after texting his mother that his life was in danger.
He said, me and the owner of this company, not saying I to our mama, his name, which I can't say at this time, but if anything happened to me, he's responsible for it. I'm too smart, mama. He got these guys wanting me. And that's what he sent to me.
Attorneys say there was an attempt to use Carter's credit card in Taylorsville while he was missing. A month after his disappearance, some of his remains were found in Smith County.
His head was severed from his body. His vertebrae, his spinal cord, was in another spot they discovered away from his severed head.
His family believes something happened with him. But the media came out and was like, nah, he did this to himself. How your head gets separated from your body, you did this to you. So there's a history of this that's been going on, right? History of these things going on. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other cases. These are the only two that I remember off the top of my head. You remember the other kid? I forgot his name. Y'all tell me below. The kid that they found in the gymnasium. Remember, he was a kid and he was found wrapped up in the tarp or the mat of the floor. He was upside down. They said they said supposedly his shoe fell in there. He went in there looking for his shoe, and that was how he passed away. He died inside the mat. Do y'all remember that story? I forgot the kid's name, but it just popped in my head. And they say he did that to himself. Y'all let me know what was his name if you remember that story and where it was at. But what do y'all think? We're also going to let's take a look at the history of Cleveland right now. So as soon as you Google Cleveland, if you Google Cleveland and racism, this is what pops up. In Cleveland, Mississippi, that is. Cleveland, Mississippi has a long history of racial segregation, particularly in its schools, which only began to be formally desegregated in the recent years after a decades-long legal battle culminating in a 2017 settlement. Despite being a small town, the city saw significant racial tension and frustration with inequality. And then it goes on to tell you about the recent news about Trey Reed. Now, also, deep roots of segregation. The Mississippi Delta, where Cleveland is located, has long been known for having the most segregated schools in the U.S. Decades-long legal battle. A federal case filed by parents in 1965 sought to desegregate the schools, but the district struggled to integrate for 50 years. So this thing has been going on for a while. Let's see what this says by CNN. This federal court has accepted a settlement with the Cleveland School District by which the district's high schools and middle schools will be consolidated to accommodate all the district children. Gone will be the Trojans of the mostly black East Side High and the Wildcats of racially mixed Cleveland High. All teams will now be Cleveland Central High Wolves. So they were trying to combine both these schools to make it more mixed, because one is more black and then the other one is more white, even though there is black students that go to the white school. But you get what I'm saying? One's also on the west side of the tracks, like I told you earlier, and one's on the east side of the tracks. That's why it's East Side High. Now, it also tells you this right here is Cleveland, Mississippi. It's on the borderline right here. And it says the county is 64.7% black or African American, 32.3% white, Hispanic, or Latino. And usually all those white people live on one part of the town. Now I'm going to show you a little bit about this article. Student protest at Delta State College in the March of 1969, which if you think about it is really not that long ago. A lot of our parents were alive in 1969. Today, legal and institutionally supported racial segregation within places of higher learning feels like a thing of the past, yet integration and increased representation of students of color, especially black students, did not come easily in the Mississippi Delta, even after racial segregation was outlawed. On the federal level, the Supreme Court ruled that segregation within public schools was unconstitutional through the 1954 case, Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka. Now, after reading that, going through all that, going through these other cases that are pretty much still open, especially in the family or parents' eyes. Oh, and I forgot to tell you guys, Trey Reed's supposedly cousin, I don't know if it's the real cousin or not, but Trey Reed's cousin is on TikTok saying that the autopsy's a lie, that they did find him with scrapes, bruises, and a broken leg. Now, I don't know if it's real, but that's what this guy's saying. So, who knows? What do you think? Do you think this was something he could have done himself? Now, if the police would have came out and said they found a chair, a stool, a way up the tree that maybe he climbed, then maybe we can sit here and not have these, theories, thoughts, and questions. But they just came out and said, oh, he did it himself. So we're like, how? Where? What video? So because of that, now we have these questions. So what do you think? And all these other cases, the Javon, the Rasheem. I mean, what do you think? And even with the guy they found 108 miles down the road, the homeless white guy they found, Now, for you people that, let's say, think that these guys all did it themselves, but maybe think Epstein didn't do it himself, make it make sense. Or even vice versa. I don't know. I'm just here giving y'all this news. I'm just here giving y'all that. And when I first heard of this, I started thinking about the other people. And I was like, hold on, this sounds familiar. So let me know what y'all think. Like, subscribe. This is Fugitive TV. Oh, and before I leave, the book, Rare Redemption, my book that I wrote, is going through editing phase. Is almost done, all right? About how I was on the run for 15 years. I'm explaining it all right here and everything I did. It will be out soon, audio form and everything else. Fugitive TV, like, subscribe, stay tuned. I'm out.